Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of Giggles and Growth and helping you move beyond the squeezes of life. And this is all about these lighthearted adventures of self-awareness and feeling mentally empowered through the tough stuff because, as we know it, life has its ups and its downs. And my guest today is Lisa J. Weiss, and I'm just going to get you to jump right in, Lisa, like I do with everyone. Just take us, if you would, beyond a squeeze or a challenge. Everyone sort of deems it differently. So wherever you're at, and it could be what's going through you today, or you know what, just something you'd like to share, and we'll just get things started. So thank you for joining me today.
Oh my God, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you. I love the fact that we're coordinated with our jean jackets today. I know, love that. The squeeze, and it's fascinating because this morning I was doing my meditations and all that, and the reoccurring theme that keeps coming up for me is about showing up and showing up as my authentic self. And it's not like I'm not being authentic, but really pushing through the comparison to others, looking outside of myself, not really trusting my intuition. And I do trust my intuition. And I think sometimes with all the noise that is happening outside of me, I begin to pay more attention to the noise and less attention to my intuition. So it's really about me coming back to me and taking the time to actually stop, to get clear about what's the next thing for me. So that's kind of what popped up for me today as I was in my meditations this morning.
Well, so I love it, and thank you. And for those that may or may not know it to the extent that I'm going to share here, because I know Lisa does, just because we know each other from other things, but authenticity is something that I have on my big board right now that I actually just put up a couple of days ago. So I just read it earlier. So I'm like, there's something in that, because it does come from, just like you're saying, that version of what's the next, what are we stepping into? And I think I don't want to go further, because a question I wanted to ask, and then when I typically start these, I'm like, okay, what question might I want to ask? Of course, I want to just sort of see what arises. However, I guess it is, what does self-awareness mean to you? Because I haven't really asked that too much to people. I have some assumptions that they know just from what I'm saying, but I'd love to hear, because what you've shared is part of it. However, I'd love to hear just what it means to you.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, I think self-awareness is one of those string of words that can have very different meanings for different people. And I would say, if someone asked me to say, yes, I'm pretty self-aware, I know what's going on about me. I'm connected to my body. And at the same time, I think we can get fooled into believing that we're self-aware. Right. And what I mean by that is I'm pretty attuned to my body, and I'm also very adept. My mind is very adept at ignoring as well. Right. And so the self-awareness for me is becoming, at this stage of the game where I believe I'm at, is becoming aware of those really thin, fine layers of sensory cues in the body for me. It's no longer about the big things. It's about those really thin layers, those undercurrents that are running sort of imperceptibly, and taking the time to become aware of that. And so to be self-aware of, in this present moment, what am I thinking? In this present moment, what am I feeling? Am I feeling anything? And if I'm not feeling anything, what is going on with that?
Right. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. Which even as you're saying it, it's just tying right into the authenticity piece that you just shared, right? It is you, because you used it in both. It's like, first I had to stop, and then it's like this pause, and what is going on. So yeah, that's beautiful. So let's talk about the body, because I've been bringing this month is more about, let's talk about what is going on in the body. And I know you've started that, you've touched on it, those cues. So maybe tell us, are there spots that you feel it in particular, or just talk to me about how the body speaks to you? Because again, that's something different for everyone as well.
Exactly. And I think, where I am again in this moment,
Mm,
right, is in the question of, am I actually paying attention to what my body is telling me? So I was sick a couple weeks ago.
okay.
And so that's always a huge wake up, right, when I get sick, because I
Mhm.
don't get sick very often. And
Right.
so when I'm congested and, maybe feeling what's the how do I describe that? It's almost like a muted sensation in my ears when
Right.
I'm having conversations and things like, you know, all of those sensory cues is my body telling me, okay, you need to pay attention to that. And it requires becoming sick in order for me to do that. And so it what that does is it wakes me up to, oh, what wasn't I paying attention to before?
Mhm.
Right? Because, coming back to that imperceptible cues that are there, and where am I numbing myself? Where have I gotten into the routine of just doing
Right.
and not being, right? Because that happens with me. I
Right.
can get into the doing and forget about the being that's happening, right?
Mhm.
And who the being is.
Right. Yeah, and I love that, and I of course really get that. I work with the body too, and when you say, I don't get sick, I'm someone that I'm healthy. I choose to be healthy, right? And a lot of people might not understand that thread of what you shared around, okay, I need to stop. What am I not doing? Because again, we want to put that outside of us instead of understanding you're moving through sickness, whatever that comes up with, congestion, ears, whatever, in a space of my body is talking to me and the energies all around me are speaking to me. So I come from this lens, which is they're bringing things in. Am I willing, right? Like you would share
Mhm.
in much of your work to just hold that and see what that is so that I can experience it, right? We want to often push that away. So when I want to come back to that because I often ask guests, and well, I always ask them, what's a practice then? Because we're speaking about right now in the moment. So what is a practice in how you even stay in this moment to be able to share it this way,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and I think the word that's coming up for me as you say that is habituation. Right? It's really easy to fall into habituation in terms of how I move through my day. So, I get up in the morning, I do my morning meditation, I might read a little bit, I do my workout, so I have this routine in the morning that sort of sets me up for the day.
Mhm.
And what I've realized is I haven't really taken any time in the day to do check ins
Right.
with myself to see where I'm at, to see, so because, when I was sick, being sick, it forces me. So I feel tired.
Mhm.
So in that moment of feeling tired, I go, oh, okay, well, maybe I don't need to push through this. Maybe I should just go sit in the sun or take a little nap or listen to some music or something just to sort of take my mind off of what I'm doing so that I can just be present to myself, right? And so I think, so that word habituation, and for me it's getting back into the habit of checking in
Right.
more often with myself during the day.
Mhm, mhm. I love that you use that word because we are told. I'm going to use that just as a word by society. We need to have habits, right? We need to have these rhythms, routines, habits, and they become these other comfort zones, levels of a comfort zone. So then we're not checking in and we're not setting ourselves up with. Because of course we know that this channel is about the laughter, and I know that I need to always add that part of it into my day. So in the checking in, it's like, okay, what's going on? I might need to shake it off. And of course, I have my own routines to do that, but I'm like, okay, I just got to like move things around here. Right. So
Right.
yeah, I love it because I think, and I would just invite, and if anyone wants to share, if you're, when you're listening to this, um, where our habits potentially become a comfort zone, right? Because to move out of our comfort zones is that next piece of change. And I'm not saying that we don't need these habits and practices and rhythms and routines to allow us. It's just how do we change that? Yeah.
Exactly. So, yesterday in the middle of the day, I thought, oh, I need to move my body. Like I've been sitting for a while and, I might go outside to, take some fresh air. I thought I haven't moved. So I started shaking my body and moving around and doing just to shake up the energy and shake myself up. Right. And I realized I haven't done that. I used to put music on and dance around the house just to again, move the energy. And so going, right, that morning routine that I have became a habit of, okay, I'm only going to do this in the morning.
Right.
And I didn't realize that it had taken out
Right.
the checking in throughout the day.
Mhm.
Right. So
No,
yeah.
love it. And again, because we hear these things, we're taught them, we hear them, and then we have friends who might do them, and or you get into, okay, I'm going to do this with this group all the time, and it's going to be the same. That at least keeps me on track. So yeah, it's just shaking things up, and I bring that into the laughter part of it, and we can go there and we can come back, but in that and it came from, so this giggles and growth and the laughter comes from that childlike essence. And when you put a kid and trap them into something for too long, aka school for too many hours, and they don't have an outlet, right, we do the same thing. And I've always been like, I'm like, well, that's what's going on inside of me. I mean, this little person that's living in me needs to shake it up too, right? So yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, I have daily conversations with one of my cousins, and often in those conversations, there is tons of laughter, right? Because we are really silly, and we're both similar in certain things in terms of what we get up to, and there's that. And as much as I know that sometimes social media could be harmful, when I'm mindful of that, I will go on to TikTok and just look at their couple of comedians that I love,
Right.
and just go look at some of their sketches or skits, right? And just to laugh,
Right.
right? Because you're right, it's so important
Right.
to have that. And as you say, laughter, the word that comes into my awareness is play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to play during the day, because I can become so serious. I
Right.
can be so serious. And it's like, okay, I need to add more play
Right.
into my day. And what does play look like?
Mhm.
Right? That's the
Mhm.
question. What does play look like
So then
during
what does it look like? Other than, yes, yeah, now you said sketches, but in the day, is it the shaking? Is there something else? Like, do you
So
do?
the shaking might be something, coloring. I used to color,
I love it.
and I've only just started to sort of get back into it because one of my great nieces comes over and she loves to color. So we color together, and I'm like, why don't I do this on my own? Like, because that again is play
Right.
for me, right? Puzzles. I love doing puzzles, and I've got 2 puzzles that I bought that I haven't even broken out of the box yet,
Right.
right? Just to have them there. So it's coming up with all these things that I love to do,
Mhm.
and that for your listeners, what are the things that you love to do that you can insert in the day? Wouldn't be long for me to take 10 minutes to do some coloring or work on a puzzle or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So then, if I might, because we still have ample time, and I know we're moving through what you're moving through right now, is there any other squeeze you want to share with people, just to say, you know what? And I do want to come into even a space of, um, I guess, what's coming through for me is there something that got you on this path to, and whether it was long ago or recently, to keep you on the path? Like, what keeps you on the path, I think, is maybe the other thing.
Oh, that's a really good
Just
that's a
really,
really good question.
maybe
That's a
that's
really good
really
question.
what keeps you on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what keeps me, actually, I don't think, I know what keeps me on it are the people in my world, right? I've curated an incredible community
Nice.
around me that keeps me engaged in these conversations. So there's you and,
Mhm.
Dr. Yasmildi, and there are others in my world that I know who will tell me, hey, Lisa, we see you veering off this way, right? Or we notice this.
Right.
And because of our conversation, so even this conversation,
Mhm.
right, to be involved in this is part of what keeps me on track for
Right.
myself, because sometimes you can't see
Yeah.
what's in front of you when you're by yourself all the time, right? And being an entrepreneur and having my own business and working on my own,
Mhm.
it can become not isolating, but there's that sense of oneness,
Mhm.
right? It's just me. When I was writing my book,
Okay.
I was always engaged with my editors and other people reading and things. So there was more activity in terms of interacting with other people.
Mhm.
Now I interact with other people in terms of my clients or when I'm doing some training and things like that. And that also helps me stay on the path in terms of the new communities coming into my awareness and the conversations that are reminding me of things that I learned or
Mhm.
that I know. And
Mhm.
I say that I know, and it's a reminder of bringing it into I know,
Right. Yeah.
right? And as I know it,
Mhm.
am I practicing it? Because I think that becomes part of what veers me off is because I know something, I can become complacent
Mhm. Mhm.
in
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
And it is that shakeup,
Right.
right, that is required.
Yeah.
And I kind of rely on my community for that.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. And as she shared, we were part of our own community in some sort of way. I think there's something there that you shared though, which is it's the social part. So many people that I speak to more and more, and things that come across my awareness really is the social disconnection that people still have, right? We may have it with clients, and again, as entrepreneurs, or if you're just a single, and I'm not saying just, but if you're a single person, and even if you go to the office all the time, it is what do you do in that after time? Because we need alone time. But if it's too much and then we feel lonely, that's a different dynamic.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people. So I'm just curious, did that ever is that what drew it out though? Like the socially alone? Or is it because you want to up level yourself?
Yeah, I don't feel alone. Like I never feel lonely. Like I actually enjoy my own company, which can have its downside because I enjoy my own company.
That's huge for people, right?
Right.
For people that are listening, pay attention to this. And if you don't like your own company, that's interesting. But let's go into what you're going to say. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I enjoy my own company. And for me, so, I moved back to Montreal 2 years ago.
Right.
Right. And I find when I'm in Montreal, because my community isn't here, I don't have a network here. Right. So I don't really socialize while I'm here. And so my social interactions happen when I come back to Ottawa.
Right.
Right. When I go back to Ottawa, my days are filled because I'm seeing my friends, I'm going out, I'm doing things. And so it's like, it's this really nice flow that
Mhm.
I've created in my life where, okay, I know when I'm here, it's kind of heads down and I have to, not have to, it's a matter of, am I willing to choose
Right.
to become more socially active here
Mhm.
and not just rely on being socially active when I'm in Ottawa, because that can be exhausting as well.
Mhm.
When I come back and I've got like every day it's someone to see or something to do and things like that. So it really is about creating that flow and noticing. It's like today, a friend of mine just dropped in. you
Okay.
know
Yeah.
he was driving by, he saw my car in the driveway, he goes, hey, so we stopped in, we had like a 10-minute chat, and that was great, right? Because that doesn't happen very often. So the social aspect of it for me is not so much in having to go out, but it's more about just that engagement, right? Going for a walk
Right.
with a friend, or talking to somebody in the grocery store, or right, we need that as humans,
Yeah.
right? And it's different layers of it,
Mhm.
right? It's a different conversation with someone in the grocery store to going for a walk with a really good friend,
Mhm.
right? Where we can talk about what's going on in our lives and things like that. Being out in nature
Mhm.
as well. I'm still looking for those magical spaces here in Montreal that I can go to, where I can just sort of go.
I bet people in Montreal are like, where the hell do you live? Because there's tons of magical places, right?
Well, there are, and I know there are, and I was really spoiled in Ottawa because I live so close to nature. I was right by the experimental farm and Dow's Lake. And so it was easy for me to go and commune with the trees because it was right there, you know, and there are parks. I live in a very suburban area. There are parks. So it's not quite the same. So I have to drive to go to be in nature kind of thing. Yeah.
No, I hear you 100%. I know what you mean. Yeah, there's something interesting, even as you're saying, and we just touched on it earlier about everybody has a different level of what's the self-awareness. And I think that for me, because it's an intention that I kind of hold in my own body in many ways to say, okay, what is it in what, and even with this channel, what is it that Lisa's saying that I might want to explore a little differently? Have I even explored that piece of me, right? Because again, even like you said, the connection at the grocery store, the connection in nature, the connection to your community in whatever way, right? Those are all pieces of us, right? So we want to be able to do all those pieces of connection and just keep finding out, how does that fill me up, right? How does that fill me up? And how does that, or again, that's my take, how does, your experience and what I'm listening to, allow me to just, oh, look what she's doing. What might I like to? Or that sparks me up. I don't go into it to be, oh my God, I have to, every single episode is like, I have to change that. I have to change that. No, it's just like, oh, right. Like I just get into this, oh, maybe I do need to do a little bit more of that. So that, and that's what this is about. So that you start to see what is something that you want to do a little bit more about, right? If you choose it, it's choose.
Totally. And, and this is why these conversations are so important, because even in this conversation with you, hearing myself out loud, saying some of the things that I've said, I go, oh, right. Have I done that today? Am I willing to do that today? Right.
It's huge. When we hear ourselves, that is one of, and it comes up when I talk to clients all the time. I'm like, go out and speak to yourself. I live alone, so I can talk to myself all the time, right? And then I do get to hear myself, right? It is saying things out loud, writing them on paper. It's another way for our sensory mechanism to know that we're paying attention to us.
Yes.
That's what's so key, I think, right?
Absolutely, because it carries a different vibration, right? To actually hear the vibration of my words. And I can then catch myself when to hear, and then to go back and listen afterwards, right? Because I'm going to hear it differently to when I'm speaking it, right? To when I'm listening to it afterwards. So yeah, I think this is an amazing thing that you're doing.
Yeah, love it. And it's what also is coming up for me, for anyone that's listening, and this isn't to say, oh God, I gotta go change everything. This is, and I think when you were even touching on social media and how it can, take us down these traps, and life takes us down rabbit holes to begin with. You got to get back in your body and just breathe, right? Like, I mean, and that's so much of the body of your work, which I'm happy that you speak about. It's hold on a second. Have I even been breathing today? Right? Because we can get in these, I got to change that and that person, and back to your comparison, back to the authenticity, right? It all sort of has come back full circle in a way, which is, this is designed to just allow you to what is arising right now from this particular one. And even when you go into your days, potentially, what's showing up for me today in this moment as you started it. So if you want to touch on that, because I think that would be a beautiful way for you to sort of even share a little bit about how you step into that, because it is a part of what you do with your work, and to just
absolutely. As you were speaking, what came up was my book. I wrote a book called Breath, Sensations, Words, right? Yes. And so, so when you said, to breathe, and we take these moments of, breath, well, do people even know there are 4 elemental breaths, earth, air, water, and fire. And each one creates an invitation for new information. And so we take a breath, but do we even recognize that we're taking the same breath all the time? And so in my book, I sort of go through what the 4 breaths are. I touch on the sensory cues in the body and what that can mean. And then I have the words and the everyday words that we're saying that we don't even recognize. And so, it is that. So it's not just about taking a breath. For me, it's about even recognizing what breath. Exactly. Am I engaging? Am I breathing? Because we tend to hold our breaths a lot, right? So it's so fascinating. And living in this world, and even having written a book about it, I too get complacent and keep doing the same breath all the time. And so shaking it up could be like, okay, well, today I'm going to engage the fire breath, and see where that takes me. Or today I'm going to engage the air breath and see where that takes me. What new information? Because you can even shake it up with doing something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. We'll drop your book link in the bottom on the YouTube for anybody that's watching on Spotify. Don't know if I can do that. I guess I can somewhere. But anyway, you'll find that out. Anyway, so I think probably the big thing is breathe. People breathe. We're not breathing properly, right? And I mean, I know there's so much out there about different kinds of breath work, and we're not getting into that right now. It's just I want to come from we need to breathe the body, right? So when and I know Lisa's work, and I have the book, and it's how do I breathe the body differently through different styles of breath? Because if you're just, again, another comfort zone, I'm breathing the same way all the time. And that starts from just, am I even breathing properly? Right. So, and that's the same. I'm not breathing probably. Yes, life has me alive, but that doesn't mean I'm breathing. We need to consciously use the body as the vessel as it was designed for, which is you control this beautiful body, right? And how do we work with it, right? It's to, I guess, really just hone in on the fact of, there's different ways to breathe, and when to breathe, and how to breathe, and how do you bring them in instead of, again, a breathing practice. Well, I do my breathing in the morning and then I'm done for the day, right? No, we have to check in on ourselves throughout the day, just like you would a child, just like you do a colleague. And I'm not saying micromanage people's lives. I'm saying step into your own, right? Find some tools that work to, set the timer, whatever those things are, right? To get it going, because those are the ways that we start to make the changes, shift things around, change some things, and then be able to really embrace and embody that transformation on the other side, right?
Yeah, what am I choosing to do in this moment, right? I think is always a really good question. And I love what you said about the breathing into the body, right? And they're doing that check-in. So it's like, okay, am I doing something that is lighting me up right now? And then owning the truth of it. Yes or no, or I don't know, right? And in owning the truth of whatever is happening to us in that moment, I think that takes us just one step closer to being our authentic self.
Exactly. I love that. Exactly. It comes back to it. You breathe for you, trusting your body. I mean, now that I use the word trust, it's a whole nother level, but because again, when we do trust ourselves, right, that authenticity is, okay, this is what I'm moving through. It's okay. We're all human. We're all here having experiences, and that's what we need to, so that we can make new choices and take new action and see the outcome at some, whenever it's meant to, because it takes this much time for one person and that much time for the next, and the next it's like this. So don't be hard on yourself. Whoever's listening, take the time. And if you need assistance or guidance, of course, reach out at any time. And if there's anything else that you'd like to end with, otherwise, I think we are going to close off this episode, because I really do appreciate it. Anything else you want to share?
No, that was it. I'm really grateful for you and for the opportunity to have this conversation, and hopefully someone out there will get something from it. So please do leave Donna comments.
Or leave them directly for Lisa, because I'll pass them on. They're not just for me. I'm here as the audience, and I try to, I know I'm sort of helping draw it out because I'm on here, but I'm like, oh, I do come as the audience, this is how I want you to use the channel. That's what it was sort of designed for. So wonderful. Well, thank you again, Lisa, for sharing your wisdom and just being vulnerable and being here, and the authenticity of what's showing up for you today. So as always, I thank everyone for your time, energy, and attention, and keep giggling, keep growing, and keep shining bright, because we need you. The world needs you. You are a part of us. So thank you again, and we'll see you in another episode.